Hello everyone, this is the Chinese Mitten Crabs aquaponics project, and today we're going to talk about evolution. Let's first start by talking about the origin of life. People have doubted how life originated for centuries. No one knows the exact origin of life, but scientists have tried to find the answer by making hypotheses and doing experiments to test them. In 1920s, Alexander Oparin proposed that the atmosphere of the early Earth consisted of methane, ammonia, hydrogen, and water vapor, but very little oxygen. Energy from solar radiation, which mainly ultraviolet radiation, is used for electric discharging and lighting and strong heat from volcanoes. Then, the organic molecules are formed by a combination of inorganic substances. The organic molecules then joined to form the first organisms on Earth. In 1953, Stanley Muller carried out an investigation to test Oparin's hypothesis. He mixed gas that mimics the early Earth atmosphere, including methane, ammonia, hydrogen, and water vapor, into a special apparatus. To recreate the conditions of early Earth, Muller heated up the gas mixture and passed strong electric current through the gas by two electrodes. The electricity jumped across the two electrodes, mimicking lightning. The experiment was carried out continuously, and the contents of the water were checked regularly. After a week from the start of the experiment, Muller started to observe amino acids and other organic molecules present in the water. He concluded that inorganic substances can form organic molecules in early Earth conditions. Many other scientists carried out similar investigations and attained the same results. Nowadays, many scientists prefer the belief that organic molecules were first formed from simple inorganic substances present in the atmosphere of the early Earth because of the results mentioned before. Nevertheless, some of the scientists queried the composition of the atmosphere of the early Earth. There is no evidence to support the clue of Muller's experiment. There is no evidence found till now. After introducing the origin of life, let's move to the main topic today, evolution. In addition to the origin of life, people are curious about the diversified life forms on Earth today. At the present time, the theory of evolution is accepted by many scientists, who suggest which life on Earth started from a common ancestor. Over a long period of time, this common ancestor developed into all the different species that we have today. Here is some evidence. The first evidence for evolution: fossils. Since evolution is a million-year process, we are unable to do similar experiments. Fortunately, there is a record to show organisms living in the past. It is the presence of fossils. The record is not only giving solid evidence, but also supporting the theory of evolution. We will discuss 4 aspects about fossils, including different types of fossils, formation of fossils, how a fossil record provides evidence for evolution and its limitations. There are 2 types of fossils, in which are the preserved remains or traces of ancient organisms. The first one is called body fossils. They included body parts of organisms such as bones, teeth, and shells, which provide us with information on the existence of ancient organisms and what they look like. Here are some examples: dinosaur skull fossils, shark tooth fossil, snail shell fossil. The second one is called trace fossils. which included structures that were caused by the activity of organisms such as footprints, burrows, and dung, providing us with information about the activities of ancient organisms. Examples are dinosaur footprints, fossilized burrows, dinosaur dung fossil. Let's move to the formation of fossils. Due to the breaking down action by bacteria before fossilization, the remains of organisms cannot be preserved long after death. After some favorable conditions, there are several ways of fossilization. Now we will show one of the methods of formation of fossils and how they are found and exposed. First of all, the dead body of a fish sinks to the bottom of a lake. The soft parts of the fish decay, leaving the hard parts like the skeleton. The skeleton is then buried in mud and sand flowing down the river. After a very long period of time, the mud and sand become rock because of the great pressure from the upper layers of sediment. At the same time, minerals from the environment begin to deposit in the fish skeleton and turn it into fossil. The earth movement raises the rock above water. Finally, earth movement or weathering further exposes the fossil. Besides the method of fossilization mentioned just now, there are other ways to preserve the remains of organisms. For example, resin secreted by trees may trap some small animals and preserve them inside after a long time that becomes amber. Organisms can also be preserved in ice. In 2007, the frozen remains of a woolly mammoth baby were discovered in Siberia. The mammoth had been well preserved in ice for 42,000 years. You may ask how a fossil record provides evidence for evolution. In sedimentary rocks, fossils are usually perceived. They are formed by deposition of one layer of mud and sand over the top of another. The oldest rock is the lowest layer that contains the earliest fossils. On the other hand, the uppermost layer is the youngest rock that contains the most recent fossils. A sequence of fossils called the fossil record is thus formed. There is evidence that fossil record has been provided. Here are some ways. First, it is believed that the existing life forms arose from pre-existing life forms because there are many similarities between the modern species and the fossilized species. Second, it is suggested that there is a developmental change from simple prokaryotic organisms to complex eukaryotic organisms, which are supported by the number of layers of their fossils. Fossils of prokaryotes were found in a layer of rock of about 3.5 billion years old. Fossils of more complex and varied eukaryotes were found in younger rocks. Scientists can now guess the age of fossils by radioisotope dating, which helps scientists obtain information about the time of existence of organisms. Here, we show the timeline and periods of which different groups of organisms first appear on Earth. Let's look into the example of the evolution of the horse, which shows the clues from the fossil record. Using fossil records can trace the evolutionary history of a species. In the example of horses, the fossil record of its body sizes increased over the past 60 million years. Here is a table showing the forelimbs of horses. The legs of horses and the number of toes have become longer and reduced over time. However, there are some limitations of the fossil record. in order to show the species arises from a common ancestor by evolution, a continuous fossil record should be found to show the intermediate forms between them or related groups of organisms. However, it is hard to discover the continuous fossil. There are missing links in the record. This may be due to the following reasons. First, inability to form fossils. The external and self-condition is not in favor of forming fossils. For example, the bodies of dead organisms may be eaten by other organisms or may decay before being buried in mud and sand. In some conditions in which the organisms died are not suitable for fossil formation. Moreover, some organisms, such as soft-bodied organisms, may not fossilize. Second, inability to find a complete set of fossils. Some fossils are located in inaccessible areas, for example, deep underground or under the sea. Most fossils are incomplete and may be damaged. The chance of discovering fossils is low.
This is the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Please give us a like and subscribe to our channel. Click on the tab to watch the next part of the video series.